Okay, welcome to Troy Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 23rd. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Here.
Mrs. Sneed?
Here.
Mr. McGarry? Mrs. Ehrlich?
Here.
Mr. Titterington? Mr. Wolke?
Here.
Mayor?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have our minutes of September 25. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? I will note the change I made at the last meeting concerning those minutes. Are they reflected in the minutes that we're approving? Because there's no amendment listed.
Yes, they are in they were
Okay.
changed, yes.
Okay, any other action? Any other action on this?
Then I move they be approved.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are pleased today to introduce a new member of the Planning Commission. At the appointment of Mayor Beamish, we have a new member, Sandra Ehrlich. Sandra, welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate your ability to say yes to this request. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay. Next, we have a presentation by our president of the City Beautification Committee, Gareth Johnson. Gareth, you want to come forward, please? We have your budget, and I think you're going to go over with us the plantings for next year.
Yeah, do you want me to go down through this?
Unless somebody has a question about
Somebody have
that.
any questions on the,
I don't think I need it on the budget.
budget?
Let's talk about your plantings.
Plantings, okay, the plantings, I brought Renee Levy, who does the plantings. I'm gonna pass this out. This is going to give you kind of a color, the color guide that we're using this year. She will go through and kind of explain what colors are going to go where.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Got a question, we can try
I think no. I think it'll probably be all right. All right, so we'll be using a lot of fuchsia.
Would
Yes.
you mind stating your name and
Yes.
address, please, for the record?
Name and address, you said Renee Levy,
Okay.
400 South Alkeny Conover Road, Troy, Ohio.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So for 2020, we'll be using a lot of fuchsia, pink, purple, and some yellow. The shade planters will be like a double impatient, some Torino, some Brewaya. It'll be pink and mainly purples. Hanging baskets, we made a little change around just the downtown. Had some requests that they wanted to use some different plants, so that in the budget, obviously it went up. We're going to be using some dragonwing begonias and some vinca vine for the trailing. We wanted it to be longer and more trailing, and some yellow bidens in that. So it'll basically be pink and yellow in those. Along Adams Street Bridge, it will be a combination called Above and Beyond. It'll be a fuchsia colored Supertunia, a pink Supertunia, and a variegated white and fuchsia. Down along Market Street, and then, just mainly Market Street will be a Bordeaux, which is a purpley color, and a deep kind of a burgundy-ish color, and then a pink vein in those. The street pots will then match Adams Street and Market Street. City building planters, same, there will be some yellow in that, pretty much same plants in all of those. Merchant pots will also, we are going to do a little different in that. It'll be yellows, pinks, and fuchsias for half of them, purples in the other half, purple and yellow in the other half. That will match the plants at each other area. Flower beds will match. So yeah, that's about it really. Any questions on any of the colors or plant material or
Any questions?
suggestions or?
If I may,
Yes.
are you going to be reusing those very large plants that were outside the building? Those-
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful, thank
The
you.
banana trees, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to mention that I think those pots are beautiful, and the
Thank
baskets
you.
this year really stood out, so I really appreciate what you and the beautification committee
And
do.
also,
Thank you.
Ted
Yes.
Mercer will be coordinating the square, he does the square, the fountain bed.
Yeah.
He will be coordinating with these colors for around the fountain bed.
Gareth, let me ask that you, at your next meeting, talk about and recommend back to the overall committee, putting another one of these large planters out front.
Right.
I don't know if that would be something that you would recommend to have happen or not.
I have asked Sue about that, if we could maybe move two of these out front, or have the park department purchase some large planters for the front, and we can fill them.
I like the ones over here on the side. I think those
Yeah.
are well placed. It seemed to me like you'd want to continue the
Flow around the
theme
corner.
around the corner,
Right,
even if it's just one. But those are beautiful planters.
yeah.
They're beautiful. So
And
thank
we'll
you.
bring it up, and if we can put it in our budget, we can, maybe the park department can supply a pot.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
I just want to bring up at the council meeting on the 21st, this past Monday, for the planning commission, I mentioned and gave compliment to the beautification committee. I think you've done a remarkable job in the environment, the look, the aesthetics, the whole thing. And I also gave Mercer Group a kudo as well.
Yes.
I just think this year, this summer, this fall, this spring, things just popped. And I want to
you.
thank you all. I know you have a lot of master gardeners they
She's the one that
Yeah.
planted the plant material and the.
well, then I'm saying thank you.
Thank you.
But I say that to the whole beautification
Yes.
committee as well as the Mercer Group for what they do around the fountain.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as far as if there's no questions on the plantings, I think the ordinance indicates that we accept or reject their plan for the plantings. Last year, in reviewing the minutes, we passed a motion accepting the plan. So I would entertain such a motion.
Well, in that they know a lot more about this than I do. I'm going to make a motion, we approve it.
And I'll second it.
And there's motion second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. C,
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Neer,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
It is approved.
Thank you, ladies. Next on the agenda is Historic District application for 105 South Market Street for a new wall sign. Does staff have a report?
Yes, we do. Shelley Calvert of Reading for Change is asking for the Planning Commission to review an application for a wall sign at 105 South Market Street. The OHI form describes the building as a two-story brick commercial building with wire-cut brick on the facade and some decorative brickwork. The building was originally built in 1832, has gone through several changes, including a major change in 2017 with the addition of EFS on the front of the building. It's a type of exterior insulation system. At that time, we did consult an architect, and in his opinion, that with the addition of the EFS, the original architecture of the building was lost. The building to the south of this property is in the same block, is basically in the same situation that through the years it's been altered enough times that it really doesn't have any historical or architectural significance. And that's all being said in order to show that the wall sign that the applicant is proposing would not detract from the historic integrity or architectural style of the existing building or the streetscape itself. They are applying for a 15 square foot sign, and they are allowed to have a 25 square foot sign. I did include the colors in the packet, and if you'll notice that the background matches the lighter beige color of the existing EFS. It also matches the existing sign for the business on the West Franklin side. Originally, there was a proposal to have a red background with white lettering, but the gentleman I was working with did take our suggestion and change the background to something that was more complementary to the building.
Thank you.
So, staff recommends approval based on the following. The proposed sign has colors that complement the existing colors found on the building. Building has had numerous facade changes through the years, now has very little character defining features. The adjacent building in the same block is a very nondescript building with no character defining features. And the proposed sign will not alter the look of the building and will not alter the look of the street block as a whole.
Any questions of staff?
Good presentation.
Good presentation. Staff have anything else you want to talk on this matter? Commission want to take any action on the matter?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Snead, support. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
It is approved.
Next, we have a historic district application for 221 South Market Street for a window sign. Staff have a report.
Yes, this is actually for a window sign and the reface of an existing wall sign. The OHI form describes this building as a two-story vernacular commercial building with a gabled roof over half the building and a flat roof over the remaining half. All trim and windows look original, and 3 storefronts survive and close to original form. This building is currently painted a light gray with white trim and has black trim also on the accessories. The block in which this building resides in the historic district consists of an automotive repair shop, a beverage drive-through, and a parking lot. There are no OHI forms for those buildings, the repair shop and drive-through. However, based on observation, you can see that those buildings have also gone through renovations in the past that now leave the buildings with no significant historical or architectural features. The applicant is proposing to reface the existing wall sign on the front of the building, removing the former business owner's name in the lower right corner and replacing it with their name, Meraki. They are also proposing to install vinyl window sign on the front window, which would measure 5.5 square feet. They are permitted to have 30.7 square feet. The staff recommends approval based on the following. The proposed sign is a color that complements the existing colors found on the building. The buildings in the same block have been altered in the past and have no character defining features. And the proposed sign and reface will not alter the look of the building, will not alter the look of the street block as a whole.
And the color, black?
I'm sorry?
The color?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, black vinyl. Meraki will be white, which is what the last business, their name was listed in white on the wall sign, and the window sign will be black.
Gotcha. Any questions of staff?
So just to understand, the wall sign is the same sign with just a new name put on it?
Exactly. It's the
Okay.
exact same sign. It says a loft.
Right.
And it says and looks exactly the same. It's just in the lower right corner, the former business name will be removed and the new name Meraki will be put there. So it's considered a reface.
I move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there support for the motion?
I'll support that.
Okay, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, next on the agenda is a discussion concerning a preliminary plan to construct a new library. Who's got that?
Me.
Okay, Shannon, go ahead.
So the Troy-Miami County Public Library has approached the city pertaining to the possibility of constructing a new library. I do want to start out by saying that why I'm bringing this to you today is not for historic review at all. Basically, a suggestion was made that the library bring before Planning Commission their preliminary plan for the site layout. And that would be what the discussion would be, to get some ideas of what Planning Commission would like to see or not see with the site layout. This has nothing to do with their parking requirements, signage, anything like that. It's strictly for site layout information.
So what are we being asked for today? Or are we just receiving information?
It's for planning commission to take a look at this. If you have any feedback, the architect for the project is here, along with Rochelle Miller from the library, the director of the library. So it was suggested that planning commission may have some questions, concerns, ideas pertaining to the layout, and I'll kind of go through this a little bit to explain it. So currently, at this location, at the rear of the building, which is the the rear of the property, which is the north side of the property, there is currently Bruckner Park, which holds the Rotary gazebo.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a minute. Just for your personal information on the rest of the commission members, the library has contacted the park board, and the park commission has given a preliminary indication that it would be acceptable for them to go ahead and obtain the Bruckner Park property upon certain conditions. One of the conditions being that the park board would approve the final plans as they are drawn, that they have some sort of commemoration for Mr. Bruckner, so that we don't step on the toes of the Rotary, because they have put some additional monies into this park. But there are certain conditions, but the park board is acting favorably upon this. We weren't asked to take any firm action, but as we are today, it came to us to see whether or not we had any problems with it, and if so, what kind of problems we might foresee. So just want to let you know that.
So at a later date, the park board's going to take a look at such things as the Rotary gazebo.
Oh, yes, what kind of commemoration they have provided for in these plans, because that was one of the sticking points on whether or not we would finally approve that. So anyway, I want to give that to you as part of information. The parking area is where Bruckner Park is right now.
Correct.
Okay.
So part of the proposal is, with what Mr. Capper said, to move the green space to the front of the building along the West Main Street side. If you can, it's kind of hard to see, but on the plan, you'll see the outline of the existing library in dotted lines. So the proposal is to leave the existing library there at the time of construction of the new library. Otherwise, the library has to find a space large enough to hold everything and their activities for approximately a year and a half. So they have come up with this design with the library pretty much in the middle of the lot, so that way they can keep the existing library open while they're constructing the new library. And then the green space out front would be for some of the programs that they offer the community. So.
I can't quite read it because it's so dark. The printing inside the blue area there, could you read that to me, please? I can't read it.
If I can, just kind of tiny.
There's printing in there?
Yes.
It's a three-story building.
It says 3-story, new building,
3-story?
and it's, what is it, 20,285 square feet.
Better you than me.
The second number, I can't read.
All right, thank you.
24,200 something.
Okay, any questions of staff concerning this matter?
What's the relative size of the new building as compared to the old one?
Can I refer those questions to Ms. Miller or the architect, please?
Yes, if, I guess probably the architect, if the architect's here, if you would come forward. And would you give us your name and address, please, sir?
John Tatone with LWC. We are at 434 East 1st Street, Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
So it was about the square footage.
Yes.
I believe we are planning to expand on their existing square footage by roughly 25%, which brings, I think, right now we're at, is it 25,000 square feet? And we're bringing this back up to around 39,000 square feet.
Would there be community rooms in the
Yep,
building as well?
yes, the community rooms, we're expanding a lot of the program to basically be a little more diverse than it is today in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Mr. Wilkie, did that answer your question? Any
Yes.
other questions?
Just curious about, now that this green space is coming up front, and I'm picturing it, it's obviously set back a little further than Hayner, but is the setback equivalent to the courthouse?
That's the idea.
Okay.
We wanted to make this more, what's the word? More of a landmark style, where you're centering it within the site. And that also plays into when we do, because half of this site is in the historical district, so that sort of yields a little bit into responding to the adjacent properties, trying to pull it back like that and give more green space to the front.
The current library, when it was built, was more of a modernistic structure. Is this going to also be more of a modernistic structure?
The pulse that I've gotten is no. It's going to be more of a classic design. At least that's the tendencies that I've been hearing so far.
How many elevators?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Have to have at least one.
Yeah, at least
Any
one.
other questions?
And only because you mentioned the Bruckner, the Rotary gazebo, is it within this green space that it's anticipated, or
Well,
in
we're
a
not
different
sure yet.
location?
Yeah.
That's
Something
not sure.
yeah.
Okay. I just wondered.
One of the questions we had in terms of this right now is if we were reading the existing zoning code, they'd be asking for 131 parking spots. And that would cover basically the entirety of the rest of the site. So we wouldn't have any green space in the front. It'd be parking lot, building, parking lot. What you're seeing here is showing 70 parking spots on site. That's, I believe, 20 or 30 more than what they have today, but it does not meet the current zoning code. But the idea here is we would rather have more park and green space to extend program into. And I think we wanted to get some feedback on that idea of dialing back the parking in lieu of those things.
Those numbers you gave me do not include on-street parking, though, do they?
I'm sorry?
On-street parking included in those figures?
No. If you did count the on-street, we kind of did a little, I know that doesn't count towards the zoning number that we need to get to, but if you dialed everything up, we can get to 100, but it's still not 131.
Okay.
So, Mr. Cappers, if I may. So, we recently spoke with the county commissioners, possibly doing some shared parking with the Hobart Center for Government. And then there's always another option that the library could choose to do through the downtown riverfront overlay district that could alleviate some of the requirements for so many parking spaces. So those are some things that could help out in the future for the required off-street parking.
I agree with you. I really, the downtown riverfront overlay district should not be used too often, in my opinion. That's something that's there for a specific purpose, not to go ahead and try to bypass the variance procedure, okay? I think the idea of asking the county for a shared parking arrangement would be really a great idea. And I think we can also count, because we have done this in the past, the on-street parking towards what they're going. I know we did that in Partners in Hope over here on Race Street, counted some on-street parking for that. So,
Yep, I believe that was also part of when Partners in Hope did that, that was part of the DRO also.
yeah.
I believe that when Partners with Hope, we're talking about an area that doesn't have as intense parking issue.
That's true.
Now, is it discussion with the county because the peak hours for parking different?
Not necessarily different. The shared parking agreement, which obviously is still in the talking stages, is for after-hours parking at the Hobart Center for Government. So basically, like, I believe it's 4:30, their signs say.
No, that's what I mean, is the peak hour for the library would be, I would assume to be in the evening, whereas the peak hour for Hobart Center would be during the day. Am I correct?
Correct. I'm not sure, maybe the peak hour is a little different in the summertime.
Okay.
Okay, well, needless to say, we don't have to make that approval right now, but that's
Correct.
something I believe that you should go ahead and continue to look at.
Okay.
If I may, if you're looking for feedback, to me, this is an example of something that is a unique situation, and has, to me, there's a much higher purpose for green space than there is for adding another, however many square feet of asphalt, when you can use on-street parking or shared parking agreements in the area. I mean, it's a downtown location, so it's,
I tend to agree, yeah. Any other comments, questions?
Just for future discussion, has there been discussion on the historic fencing that is around?
Absolutely. yeah.
Obviously, because of the history of that area.
We would bring that, because right now it's in the back. We're looking to line that new green space with it around the front, so you could see, that. Yeah, my sheet's a little bigger than yours, so. But we're planning on lining the new green space that's now going to be on the front of the site, more visible on Main Street, with that historic fence.
Okay. And there's still lots of discussion on the possible placement of the gazebo.
Yeah.
And Bruckner.
Absolutely.
And Rotary. That's a concern. Plus, many of us have been spending a lot of time with the Activate Troy Partnership and trying to look at Water Street and how we can, make that come alive with the downtown riverfront goal. And so all that, I hope, is part of that discussion, is what do you do to kind of help that along as well? Because that's, a lot of people are putting a lot of investment on Water Street right now.
Makes sense.
Were there any matters of concern you wanted to bring before the planning commission today?
Other matters, you said?
Any other matters that you
The
wanted?
parking was the big one. I don't believe we had any other major ones, unless I'm missing something.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next matter on the agenda, we have a planning commission member who's now resigned, Dee Mahan. Sandra, you've taken her place. But she was a member of the Community Reinvestment Housing Council, and a two-year term is up beginning January 1, 2020. We are to be making an appointment to that commission. They meet on an annual basis. I'm not asking anybody to volunteer today, but if you would go ahead and think about that, we'll talk about it again at the next meeting. So you'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting as well. Does staff have anything else to come before the commission today?
No,
Got a couple more things. We have,
The holiday schedule.
is anybody not going to be here the day before Thanksgiving? Because that's going to be our next, one of our next meeting dates. Are we going to have a quorum is the question.
No, that's
It's going to be
27.
the 27th.
I'll be around,
You okay?
D7?
but should be here too.
You're going to be okay? All right. So we'll have a meeting that day. So staff
If we
can be
have a
aware-
quorum.
If we have a quorum.
If we have agendas items, okay.
Right. And then the second meeting in December falls on December 25th. Is anybody not going to be here that day? Okay, we will not have a meeting on the
Consider that
25th.
canceled.
So staff can
And
take note of this accordingly. Okay. Anything else?
Now, on the previous meeting in December, I will not be here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You're now in the public record.
We stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.